In 2019, the most powerful government on Earth launched a direct mission to completely erase one technology company from the global market. The strategy was calculated and ruthless: cut off their software, freeze their hardware supply, and wait for a total financial collapse. But the leaders facing this ultimate pressure made a defiant psychological choice that shocked international analysts. Instead of accepting defeat, they triggered a massive, high-stakes operation to rebuild their empire entirely in the shadows. This is exactly how they survived the perfect corporate death trap and forced the world to rewrite the rules of technology. Would you like to structure a specific segmenting format to test how this hook performs across your short-form channels as well? In May 2019, the United States government placed Huawei on an export blacklist known as the Entity List. This administrative action meant American companies could no longer sell crucial technology to the Chinese firm under a strict policy. The immediate impact on the consumer division was severe and highly visible. Huawei lost access to the Google Android operating system, along with critical applications that billions of users rely on daily for basic functionality. At that exact moment, critics and industry observers asked a very practical question. What kind of smartphone survives that? A device with no Android, no Google Maps, and no Gmail seemed destined for total failure in the international market. The prevailing 2019 myth was that the company would simply fade away and eventually close its mobile division entirely. Without the standard software ecosystem, international customers immediately stopped buying the devices, leading to a massive drop in European and Asian market share outside of China. However, Ren Zhengfei, the founder of Huawei, responded with immediate defiance rather than surrender. He believed the restrictive measures would not break the company he had built over decades. During a media interview, he stated clearly his position on the matter. The current practice of US politicians underestimates our strength. His position was that the company had prepared backup plans for years in anticipation of potential trade conflicts. He maintained that their core telecommunications equipment and upcoming technology pipelines were secure from the initial software blocks. But the reality of losing American software was only the first wave of a much larger campaign. The United States government soon realized that software restrictions alone were not enough to halt the company's global expansion. They needed to target the physical components that powered the devices from the inside out. Modern smartphones require highly sophisticated processors, and the manufacturing of these chips relies heavily on American intellectual property. By 2020, the United States escalated the sanctions to target hardware directly. The government introduced new foreign direct product rules, blocking any foreign semiconductor manufacturer from using American equipment to produce chips for Huawei. This decision severed the company's relationship with TSMC, the Taiwanese foundry that manufactured its most advanced processors. Because almost every major chip factory uses American-made testing and manufacturing equipment, the supply lines were effectively frozen globally. Consumer sales dropped significantly, and the company quickly fell off the list of the top 5 global smartphone vendors. This period brought immense pressure, not just on the business, but on the founder personally. Canadian authorities had arrested Ren Zhengfei's daughter, Meng Wanzhou, at the request of the United States. She served as the chief financial officer of the company and faced extradition charges related to violating trade sanctions. This created a highly public international dispute that lasted for years. During this prolonged legal battle, Ren Zhengfei took a firm and unsentimental public position regarding his family and his business. He'd rather she suffer more than have Huawei ask for favors that hurt poor Chinese citizens. The years following the hardware embargo were incredibly difficult for the company. Revenues fell drastically across all major divisions, forcing a complete operational restructuring. They had to sell off their budget smartphone brand, Honor, just to ensure that brand could continue buying components independently from global suppliers. Internally, the corporate atmosphere shifted from defiance to sheer survival mode. The company redirected thousands of software engineers and hardware researchers to rebuild entire technological foundations from scratch. They were forced to create their own operating system, find local Chinese suppliers for thousands of individual phone components, and attempt to design microchips without the standard global tools. This massive undertaking took a heavy toll on the organization and its financial reserves. The reality of the isolation was grim and deeply affected the company morale. In 2024, Ren Zhengfei admitted the severe ongoing difficulty of their situation. He told his employees directly, "To this day, we still can't say we'll survive." The focus had narrowed entirely to existing day by day, managing constant supply chain crises. He added a stark confession about his personal outlook. "I cannot talk about having any dreams at that time." The former ambition of dominating the global technology market was replaced by the simple, brutal task of staying operational. The international consensus matched this grim internal assessment. Western analysts looked at the massive gap in semiconductor manufacturing capabilities and concluded that the Chinese firm was fighting a battle it could not possibly win. Specifically, the export rules targeted extreme ultraviolet lithography systems, These massive machines are required to print the microscopic transistors on the most modern processors. The United States successfully pressured allied nations to stop selling them to Chinese foundries, effectively blocking access to the next generation of computing power. In 2023, financial analysts at New Street Research provided a very clear assessment of the situation. They stated confidently, China won't be able to have competitive chips on that kind of time frame. The report outlined the immense barriers to entry in the semiconductor industry, noting that building an independent supply chain from nothing was practically impossible. They concluded their analysis with a definitive statement on the geopolitical tech race. With an experience and a scale disadvantage, China cannot win. Then came a moment that completely disrupted the established narrative. In August 2023, the United States Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, traveled to Beijing for high-level diplomatic meetings. Her department is directly responsible for designing and enforcing the export controls and sanctions against Chinese technology firms. During her visit, a major product launch occurred. It landed during Raimondo's own visit to Beijing. The company quietly placed the new premium smartphone, the Mate 60 Pro, on sale in retail stores without any prior marketing campaign or official announcement. The timing was highly symbolic and immediately caught the attention of the global tech media. State media and Chinese social media seized on the situation. The launch was viewed as a direct message that the sanctions had failed to destroy the company's hardware capabilities. Chinese netizens photoshopped Raimondo giving the phone a thumbs up, crowning her Huawei's unofficial brand ambassador. The images spread rapidly across internet forums and social platforms, mocking the American trade policies. This public moment created immense embarrassment for the officials enforcing the trade barriers. The smartphone was immediately purchased by tech reviewers, imported to the West, and dismantled in laboratories. Inside the device, researchers found a 7-nanometer processor called the Kirin 9000s. It was designed by the company and manufactured entirely inside China by the local semiconductor foundry SMIC. It was capable of 5G download speeds, an achievement that was supposed to be completely impossible under the current trade restrictions. The American government was caught off guard by this rapid and unexpected development. When asked about the technological breakthrough by the press, Gina Raimondo called it incredibly disturbing. However, the narrative of absolute victory for the Chinese tech giant was not entirely straightforward. While the physical existence of the chip was undeniable, financial and technical experts immediately pointed out the severe economic realities of manufacturing it locally. Producing a 7-nanometer chip without the most advanced extreme ultraviolet lithography machines requires using older equipment in a highly inefficient manner. The yield rates, which indicate the percentage of functional chips on a single silicon wafer, were reportedly very low compared to industry standards. Industry analyst Kirk Yang directly disagreed with the triumphant narrative surrounding the new processor. He highlighted the massive financial penalty the company was paying to bypass the international sanctions. He noted a critical flaw in their manufacturing process. You're probably losing money on every chip you make. The process of using older, restricted machinery to create newer chips requires multiple complicated patterns, which increases the time and cost significantly. He added an important logistical point. You could take 2 or 3 times longer to make the chip. Beyond the manufacturing costs, the political response in the United States began to shift as more technical details emerged. By 2024, Gina Raimondo adjusted her position on the matter entirely. She moved away from calling the development an incredibly disturbing event. Instead, she began downplaying the breakthrough, arguing that the existence of the inefficient chip actually proved the export controls were functioning as intended. She justified this new position by stating that the export controls were working because the chip was not nearly as good as US chips. Despite the ongoing debates over manufacturing costs and chip efficiency, the consumer response in the domestic market was overwhelming. The company utilized the nationalistic momentum from the Mate 60 Pro launch to rapidly regain its lost market share. They also continued to aggressively develop their independent software ecosystem to replace American products. The initial question about surviving without American software was finally answered by raw data. We now see Harmony OS running on over 900 million devices. The company had successfully decoupled its consumer products from the standard global software architecture. They stopped supporting Android applications entirely on their newest version of the software, forcing local developers to write dedicated applications for their unique ecosystem. The hardware sales figures told a similar story of recovery. The prediction that the company could not compete due to a scale disadvantage proved completely incorrect. By 2025, Huawei had reclaimed the #1 smartphone spot in China with 46.7 million units shipped. They surpassed Apple and other local competitors in the single largest smartphone market in the world.